Welcome back to Conversation with Buddy. I'm your host, Buddy Puckett. Thank you so much for being here again this Friday morning. We really appreciate you. And by the way, we do this every Friday, and we hope that you get to know somebody in our community. Really get to know them on a deeper level. I think we know a lot of people on the surface, but we don't know them on a deeper level. So this morning we got a couple Christian businessmen. We're going to talk about marriage, life, our walk with God, just all the things that are important. And anyway, without further ado, let me introduce you to Rob, Dill, and John Miller. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Hello.
Morning, man. So, all right, so we all get up around 5:30, or 6, I guess, right? John, do you normally get earlier than that, or is that just typical for you?
I've got a one-year-old Irish setter, and he normally insists I get up about 5:30, take him to the park so he can run.
Okay. That's funny, man. You have a dog too?
No, sir.
No.
I'm dogless.
You're dogless. Okay. You're not a dog guy at all, or ever been a dog guy?
You know, I had a great dog for 14 years, and she ruined me. So Bella is no longer with us, and I just haven't had the heart to go find another one.
It's funny. We had the same story. We had our golden retriever for 14 years, and she passed away in 2017, and we just haven't had the strength to go get another one. So I feel you, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for being here today, you guys. I really appreciate this. So I thought I'd just introduce, so John, I've known you. You're a guy that owns a courthouse, and I've been a part of the courthouse for a long time, and really appreciate what you do and what the courthouse stands for. Rob, you and I met, Scott Suckling introduced us. We had coffee one day, and Scott's been a good supporter of just the podcast and stuff. And by the way, Scott, I need to have you on the podcast. I know you're fighting it, but don't do that. You're getting everyone else on the podcast, but then not you. So anyway, we met, a month ago or so?
Yeah.
But what's funny about you, Rob, is I had a guy on here last week, Bobby Spencer.
Right.
And I thought Bobby was referred by his brother-in-law, Scott Suckling, but he was actually referred by you. Because Bobby was, he met you, he told a story where one day after a church service online, I think it was in New York, I don't know, he called to get prayer, and the next day or maybe later that day, a guy named Rob Dill called him, and then he told the story how you guys are buddies now.
Yeah. At that point, I was serving on what we call the pod, the pastor on duty, to take calls there from our church, and that was just the luck of the draw, as they say. But yeah, so. But
you guys are friends today, though. Yeah. And so he moved from New York to here, and now he goes to Athey Creek.
Yeah, he actually lived here, but he was working in New York. He's in the entertainment business.
Right. He's got quite a story.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Bobby Spencer? You don't know the guy, do you?
No.
Okay.
I feel like I'm meeting Rob for the first time, though, because I've never listened to him on headphones.
That's funny.
Well, and I'm realizing you have a fantastic radio voice.
Thank you.
He's got the radio voice.
Yeah, because I sure don't have a face for TV. That's for sure.
Well, I was going to follow up with that.
Well, hey, we're going to dive in. I want to hear, we're going to talk business, but we're going to talk, I want to hear about you guys. I want to get to know who you are, Rob, John. Everybody knows John in Salem. You're more from the Portland area, Rob, right?
Correct.
So we don't know you as well. A lot of people know John. So let's start with John. We'll also talk with you, but why don't you go back, John, talk about your SIO days. I want to hear from your story, just kind of where you grew up. And I want to hear, how your parents influenced you and what makes you John Miller. Because you're a unique guy, right? You'd say that.
I suppose.
Yeah. And you were just telling us, how lucky your wife was to have married you, right?
Yeah.
Confession time. So.
Okay, Camden.
No, Camden, we're going to keep that one. We're going to keep this live. So. But yeah, just walk us through maybe a little history of you, John, and maybe some more insight on who you are.
Okay, I'll make this fast. So my dad was in the Air Force and moved about the world, had 2 kids in Hawaii, 2 kids in Sacramento, and 2 kids in Stuttgart, Germany. And I was one of the 2 in Stuttgart. And then the last place my dad was stationed was Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. And then he retired, and they were both my mom and dad were from Oregon City. So after he retired, they both wanted to move back to Oregon, and so they bought some acreage in Rogue River and developed that property and lived down there for a while. And but apparently Rogue River was just a little too urban for them. So one day my dad was flying up to Seattle, and he flew over a flat mountaintop outside of Scio. And so he found the property on the ground. It was owned by a sheep farmer named Emil Helicus. It was about 500 acres, and he ended up buying that and developed an airstrip on it and some other home sites and so forth. He had this concept of developing these home sites, and everyone was going to be able to taxi to the airstrip and have their own hangar for their airplane. And a couple of people actually ended up doing that. But my dad had a shop teacher in Albany build him a aerobatic plane called a Pitt Special. And so he used to do aerobatics over the ranch and stuff. And remember, he had some guys from Salem come up that they would chase each other around in the skies above the ranch. But he died when I was 19. And anyway, a lot of people ask me, if I fly, and I drove my dad nuts, like a lot of kids too, because, I grew up reading, I remember a book about Bob Cousy, who was the point guard for the Boston Celtics in the 50s and 60s, about him sweeping snow off the court in New York. And,
wow.
And he kind of became my hero, and there was nothing more important to me than basketball for a number of years, which... my dad tried to convince me that, being a short white guy of Eastern European descent, I probably didn't have a bright future in basketball. But, I learned a lot about persistence in pursuing it, and I learned a lot about hard work from my parents. So when you talk about what I learned from my parents, more than anything, from both my father and my mother, was just showing up every day and getting stuff done. My dad, it'd been a while since I thought about this, but he would always tell us to, if we were around the house, if he didn't have us doing something productive, like picking up rocks or burning brush or something like that, he would tell us to go do something productive. And so, we always chafed against that as kids, but I'm amazed. It's become a part of my nature as an adult.
Yeah, no, I love the hard work story. So you guys had 500 acres, is that right? Mm-hmm. That seems like a lot of work to me. I don't know.
It was.
Before we get to you, Rob, just want to a couple more questions. So you had 4 sisters?
5.
You had 5 sisters, 4 older and one younger.
Yeah.
And then your mom. Tell just a quick story about your mom.
Yeah, well, you asked me about that before we started here. And my mom just passed away about a month ago, 7 weeks shy of 102. And a lot of people ask me, her physical health was declining, but she was sharp as a tack mentally. Yeah. That was amazing.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rob, you're up, man. I want to hear the story of Rob. Where'd you grow up? What was parents like, siblings, and just tell us that journey.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be with you today, and appreciate you inviting us out. So I grew up in Southern California, and family of 5, 2 sisters. I'm in the middle. The story in my family is my mom wanted 7 boys, so I always felt obligated to make up for the other 6, much to my sister's chagrin. So then pretty middle class, typical upbringing, nothing too exciting. The big highlight of my time was every summer I got to go back and work on my aunt and uncle's farm in Missouri. So I lived for summertime, and being in the green hills of Missouri, and thought I'd move back there someday. But then I visited for Thanksgiving one year and found out what 20 below was like and decided that's wrong. So ended up in Portland to go to college at Lewis and Clark College and never figured out how to get home. And so
here you are.
Here we are. So went into the insurance business shortly after graduation. I tried to spec a home and decided that construction was not my bailiwick. So that was a learning experience. But yeah, and then I think the consistency in my life has always been the Lord, His Word. And it's a lamp. And sometimes you pay attention, sometimes you don't. But over time, you figure out it's best to keep paying attention.
And I say amen to that. Well, let's talk about that real quick. So when did you come to the Lord? What's that look like? What that journey?
Yeah, when I was 5 years old, my mom, I remember being with my mom. I'm sure my dad was there somewhere too. Yeah. Went to a good old Southern Baptist revival meeting.
Yeah.
And I remember the altar call came and I looked up at my mom.
5?
Yeah. I looked up at my mom and I said, I've got to go. And
that's interesting.
And she was supportive and said, well, if you need to go, then you better go. So I did.
5 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. You feel like, were you ever, I always like to ask the question, were you ever a prodigal son? Did you ever kind of go your own way? Is that, because some guys do and most guys do, some guys don't.
Not really. I think there's always times of a closer walk, if you will, versus trying to do it my way. And I think the key there has been just my grandfather, my mom's dad, being an older Christian man, invested a lot in me.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
Taught me a lot of things about life. One of the favorite stories I love to tell is I was probably about 10 years old. He looked at me. He wanted to know what my definition of happiness was. And he goes, don't tell me today. I want you to think about it and tell me tomorrow. The only caveat here is you can't look it up in the dictionary. So I ran off, totally forgot about the assignment, but sure enough, the next day, he always referred to me as boy. He says, boy, what's your definition of happiness? And I stammered and stammered, had no idea what to say other than, oh, shoot, I forgot to think about that. And he goes, well, do you mind if I share with you my definition of happiness? And he said, at your age, you have most of your life before you. At my age, most of my life is in the past. And the one thing that impacts my happiness the most are my regrets. So I'll share my definition of happiness is to minimize your regret. And those little golden nuggets that he would share in the moment have always stuck with me and have been a great counsel along the way.
Yeah, if we look in the rearview mirror, regrets don't serve us well, do they?
Right.
I mean, we can learn from them, but I see too many people living in the past, like their past defines them. And I have to tell myself too, my past doesn't define me. It does tell a story like, hey, where did I come from? But I can't go live there. It doesn't serve my wife well, doesn't serve my ministry well, doesn't serve my kids well, doesn't serve doesn't help anybody. So how do you think you conquered that? I mean, even you're told so. I've been told stuff, but I haven't done it. So how did you take that and own that? Where you don't want to maximize your regrets, but you minimize them. How'd that come about?
Well, I think, life is life, right? So there are always regrets. And, probably the biggest one for me is my wife of 30 years took off with my best friend. And that was a gut punch that really makes you look back and say, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
And so there is an aspect of God's redemptive power, which is so amazing from the standpoint I'm happily married. And, I wouldn't be living today's blessings if I hadn't gone through that divorce. But the Lord is faithful, and he gets us through.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you were married to your first wife for 30 years. She runs off, and I mean, it's interesting. Nobody signs up to get married to get divorced, right? And I always appreciate guys that say, "I will never get divorced." Well, hold on here. There's no guarantees in life, right? I was with a guy about a year and a half ago. This guy had been married for over 50 years. You know, in my estimation, he had a really good marriage. Christian guy, solid. And one day, about a year ago, we met for coffee. And I said, I made this comment. I was reading a book about marriage because I always want to improve my marriage. You know, I'm always a work in progress. I said, you know why God created marriage? It was funny you should say that. And so the punchline was to keep us guys humble, right? That's long story short. We meet for coffee, and he goes, I didn't know I was going to tell you this, but my wife asked me over the weekend, after 50 years of marriage, for a divorce. I'm like, okay, interesting. So yeah, there's no guarantees, right? Life doesn't give guarantees. So you got divorced. How long have you been remarried?
It'll be 10 years in June.
Okay. God's redemptive power, man. Okay, back to you, John. You and Lori have been married for how long?
46 years.
Yeah. And so would you say she married up or you married up? Let's get the real story.
Well, like I told you, growing up in SIO,
you
back
can
in
get
the
a SIO
70s,
cheerleader.
Corvallis was kind of like Hollywood, and the greatest accomplishment in my life is I married a cheerleader from Corvallis.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So,
could I make a comment on regrets?
Please, no, absolutely, 100%.
We all have them, and I came to realize that I think a lot of people struggle with regrets because they view the regrets in the perspective of this life, and which is short and defined. Yeah. But I feel like we have eternity to offset our regrets.
Yeah.
And with that time horizon, I don't think there's any regret that will amount to much eventually.
Yeah. I call that perspective because if you do have that perspective from an eternal perspective, it's easier to swallow the things that we've done wrong. We've all done something wrong. We all have regrets, but how do you not live there? So I think that's really wise, John. Do you think you've always been a guy that's got that? I understand you've been married for 46 years and you're unpacking this wisdom, but has John always been that guy?
Oh, no.
Okay.
My 50th high school reunion was this past summer.
Okay.
And
50 years.
More than anything, and going back and seeing those people that I went to high school with, I wanted to apologize for being such a jerk.
Interesting. I'm embarrassed to go back to my reunion because me too. I'm like, what I was like in high school it's not good.
Yeah.
So I haven't shown up I went to my 10-year, maybe my 20-year for a moment. Didn't go to my 30, or I think I'm up on 40 years now. I'm getting old too,
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing how, I haven't seen most of those people in 50 years.
50 years.
But, I had 80 people in my graduating class. There was about 25 that made it back to the reunion, but everybody fell back into their same roles.
Isn't
in high school.
That 50 years later.
It was.
Are you kidding me?
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. I heard stories at our 30-year reunion, like all this drama going on. It was, I don't know, but you think after a few years we'd figure this out. But when did you come to know Christ? What was your relationship like, or your journey like?
My family would go through seasons of being churchgoers.
Yeah.
In my family with 6 kids, my military family.
Yeah.
We were introduced as child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You're number 5, man.
Yeah. We would. I remember my dad insisted that. When we answered the phone, you take the receiver off the wall and say, hello, Millers, this is John speaking. That was the way everybody have to answer the phone.
Hello, Millers, this is John speaking.
This is John speaking. I
like it, though.
We had a particular prayer for meals. We didn't always say it, but when we prayed before eating, it was, God is good, God is great, and we thank Him for our food. Amen. And I remember one time we had some guests over for dinner, and my dad asked me to pray, and I just, wrote thinking, just said, "Hello, Millers. This is John speaking." And, it was totally, unintentional.
Yeah, it just came out.
But the guests were a little bit puzzled, but my sisters got a big kick out of it.
Oh, I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
But
sweet.
anyway, I just growing up, I just always had this yearning to understand how I got here, where I came from. And I remember growing up, lying in bed, thinking about God, and because it just wasn't a topic of conversation. And then, I got connected with the Scio Baptist Church, mostly because there was some cute girls that went to church there. Yeah. And I just started hearing the gospel. Then I got into C.S. Lewis. And,
oh, my gosh.
Screw Tape and Mere Christianity in my first year in college. And I was at a church service in Albany at the Assemblies, and there was a Christian comedian speaking or doing his routine.
Yeah.
The guy's name was Mike Warnke, but he had an altar call at the end, and I was just like, yeah, I think maybe, And so I stood up and. Went home, didn't really feel a lot different, but it was just this slow, just starting to walk this out, bit by bit, and came to know Christ.
Yeah. Amen. Well, I'll have a journey, man. I grew up in church, haphazardly. We looked like a Christian family, but I'm pretty sure early on was Christmas and Easter. And then in high school, my parents definitely were more committed, both believers. And, as a kid growing up, going to church, feeling convicted, knowing about God, but I was not ready, apparently. And so I was 28. I'd been married for 5 years, and me and my wife were trying to have kids, and we couldn't have kids for 5 years, and we just kind of gave up. Like I was telling you before, I worked at Les Schwab, and so my buddies at Les Schwab were like, hey, let's put some money in the stock market, 2 buddies, and we're going to get rich. Oh, okay, yeah, this is good. Well, in about 6 months, we lost all of our money. And so both these guys were like, hey, well, let's just do a Bible study instead. Oh, okay. So then I call my dad. I'm 28. I've never read the Bible. I know no Bible verses. And I'm like, Dad, these guys want me to join a Bible study. What do I do? So I think I went to Walmart and got a King James Version. I think Pastor Brett would appreciate this, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I got a King James Version Bible. And that's why I got, it's like, it wasn't like I was anti, I just didn't know what I didn't know, like the true gospel. But we, as a family, we'd go to church, but we didn't pray at home. We didn't read our Bibles at home. And so my dad and I have obviously lots of deep conversations about that. But it's okay. God has a plan, and I'm thankful that he saved me at 28. And, I don't know if you guys have heard this statistic before, but if a child comes to know Christ first in the home, something like 15 to 20% of the household would get saved. If the mom gets saved first, something like 25 to 30% gets saved. But if a dad comes to know Christ first, something like 93% gets saved. So I'm really thankful for that. God got a hold of my heart, and my wife's saved, my kids, my 2 daughters are saved. So anyway, John, how many kids do you have?
2 boys.
2 boys. What's their ages?
Late 30s and early 40.
Okay. And you guys close?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are they local here to Salem, or?
Well, they work with us in HealthPass.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk about HealthPass here in just a moment.
Well, they're the ones that actually do the work.
They're the work. Yeah. I like that, man. You taught them well.
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids you got?
I have 3, two boys and a daughter.
Okay. Are they local to the Portland area?
One in Corvallis, one in Beaverton, and one in Cincinnati, Ohio. The daughter is in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay. Are you guys all close?
Very close.
Very
yes.
close. Good. You guys keep mentioning Corvallis. Are we all Beaver fans then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not overly passionate about it.
I know.
I went and caught a couple of football games this year and a few basketball games.
But you don't wear Duck jerseys,
No.
Okay, just ask.
Yeah, both my sons went to Oregon State, so when I have to, I will wear orange and black.
That's right. I'm the same way. Whatever, but
yeah. Of course, I went to Lewis and Clark College, which is I always tease the boys that we were the first orange and black. But
first, okay, I got it. Well, let's talk just a little bit more. I want to hear your journeys, maybe after high school, college. So, Rob, you're up. During high school, what was high school like for you? Were you sports? Were you academic? And then what would you do after high school?
Yeah, a little of both on the academics and sports. Always wanted to be, I guess, an athlete wannabe. And tried
all of us. Yeah.
Tried a lot of different sports. The only thing that seemed to stick was probably because I couldn't get a lot of people to do it was water polo and swimming.
Okay.
And I'm a sprinter, not a marathon guy when it comes to that. So so played a little bit of everything. Today, tennis is my game. But that's now kind of evolving into that pickleball.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And with a last name like Dill, I'm obligated to know about pickleball, right? So very, I think, typical high school experience done on Southern California at that time. Anytime we could, we'd break away to 15th Street, Newport Beach to try to learn how to surf. Been hammered on the wedge there way too many times.
Yeah.
But the key for me was getting through high school. My sister went through 3 years before I did, and most of the teachers hadn't changed their curriculum.
Yeah, so, I can see where this is going. I can see exactly where this is going, yeah.
So I got through high school with the grades I did thanks to my sister being a straight A student.
Yeah.
And then, long story short, went to community college for a couple of years and then transferred in my junior year to Lewis and Clark College in 1976. Yeah. So graduated from there in 78.
Okay.
And shortly thereafter, some friends and I spec'd the home that I mentioned earlier. That didn't go very well. And literally, I got into the insurance business, went in to buy some car insurance. And of course, part of that application process was, where do you work? And I said, I worked at the construction company till Friday, and it's like Wednesday.
Yeah.
And the agent said, so you're looking for a job? And I said, well, I guess you could say that. Of course, I was covered in mud from the job. He goes, well, clean up and come back Monday for an interview.
No way.
And so that's how I started with Equitable Life of New York back in 1978.
It's funny how sometimes we just fall into a job or a career and how that all works about. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. And then how long did you spend in insurance?
Well, that was 78, and it's
25, 26.
Yeah, so 48 years.
48 years. Okay. Couple days.
Long enough to know if I like it or not.
Okay. So. You still wondering if you like it or not?
Well, working with John, I like it again.
Yeah.
So
John, talk to us a little high school, college, and then go over again how you met Lori.
Well, I didn't know that we shared this in common, but I too, out of high school, went to community college at Tangent Tech, and playing basketball there, and a lot of guys from Corvallis at LBCC, and one particular buddy I'd made down there. We went to Corvallis on a Friday night because he knew we could go maybe meet some girls. Back in 1976 in Corvallis, there was we all remember Farrell's ice cream shop.
For sure.
Well, in Corvallis, there was a version of Farrell's called the Gay Parfait.
Okay.
And, gay meant something different back in 1976. Sure. And Lori was a waitress there. So she was our waitress. And that's how we met. And
you kept coming back, man.
Yeah. And I was starting to get into jazz at the time. I asked Lori out, and our first date was to go see a saxophone player by the name of John Clemmer. And his albums were very romantic and melodious. In person, it was hard edge, Charlie Parker kind of jazz. And she was like, she asked me like, well, when is he going to sing? And like, I don't think he's going to sing. He doesn't sing. But yeah, we just started seeing each other. And I remember one time we were driving from Corvallis to Scio, and she decided the topic for the trip was going to be our past dating history.
Oh, no.
And so my dating history took from about her house to the first stoplight, and her dating history took the rest of the trip.
Uh-oh.
So she was quite popular. Yeah, it was
too funny.
Yeah, we got married in 1980.
Yeah. Pretty cool. It's a great story. Great story.
Yeah.
Let's dive into how you guys met. So you guys know each other for what, a few years? Walk us through that history, and we're going to talk about HealthPass.
2018?
Yeah,
Okay.
It was, I'd been to a conference. I've always been keen on lifestyle.
Okay.
The formula for good health is pretty straightforward: eat, sleep, move.
Yeah.
And I had been to a conference for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and had met a doctor from Salem at that event, and he invited me to his clinic once we got back to Oregon. The conference was in Florida. Excuse me. And so Mark and I had a great visit, and I was very interested and curious that his clinic was inside this fitness facility.
Okay.
I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So as we got finished with our time together, we stepped out into the common area, and
This is in Florida.
no, this is back here in
You're back
Salem
here. Okay,
now.
okay, back here in Salem. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so his office was in Courthouse South.
Got it. Yeah.
And so we're getting ready to part ways, and he goes, "Oh, here comes the owner of Courthouse, John Miller. Let me introduce you." So John being John wanted to know what we were up to today, and Rob being Rob told him what we were doing. And so John at that point said, you need a laboratory. So here's my company, here's my employees, let's go to work on how do we make people healthy and engage in appropriate behavior and lifestyle, and the rest is history, as they say. And that has evolved to now our engagement with a company that we are involved with called HealthPass.
Gotcha. All right, John, so you've been running the courthouse for a very long time. Mm-hmm. What was your interest in HealthPass? What would that look like?
Well,
I mean, of course, you want healthy people. People come to the gym, but there's more than just working out, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'd say it was an intersection of a lot of interest. Number one is I always felt like Courthouse had a place in the local medical community, and made several attempts to invite myself to that party. Was never really welcomed. Like, you just go do your thing. We'll take care of the really high, the high end smart stuff. You're the fitness guy. As an employer, I had 350 employees myself. A lot of them are part-time, so they're not on healthcare, but I had 80, 90 employees that we did provide healthcare for. And like a lot of employers, I was really frustrated with health insurance and the way the costs would just go up year over year, and the squeeze that put you in. And I also hated the fact that as the owner, the decision about what we were going to do eventually fell to me. And no matter what I decided, there was going to be people unhappy with that decision. And I'm thinking, why am I deciding this for everybody? It didn't make sense. And so I always felt like there was a way to do something different. But what Rob brought to the table is, being in the industry so long, he knew where the back doors and the secret levers were, that if you wanted to do something different, you very quickly, government and regulation and the industry set up these roadblocks. They prevent you from doing things that are very logical, but it's against the rules. So how do you get around that? How do you satisfy that rule but still be able to do what you want? And so we went to work designing something that would work for my employees. That was really my driving interest. Is I did not want to be constrained to have to play in the sandbox that traditional insurance provided.
And there's no way to win a game if you don't know the rules. We're playing in a game but we don't know what the rules are. You mentioned secret levers, and so
yeah. And so one of the requirements that I had before I would pull the trigger on this is, worked with Rob and we built something, is it was going to have to satisfy the review of my attorney. And, I work with Salfeld Griggs, have an entire career in great firm with a lot of attorneys, and they all have different specialties. Well, they have an attorney that specializes in healthcare law. And so that was probably the hardest thing to get over, because the gal that I was working with there, this is just a head scratcher to her. Like, well, why do you want to do this? Why don't you just stick with what you're being offered? Because I don't like what's
I don't like it.
I don't like it. And it was hard. But at the end of the day, she finally said, yes, this checks all the boxes. This is legal. This complies with ACA. So from a legal standpoint, there's no reason why you can't do this.
Yeah.
Great. And we charged ahead. I'm also very involved in the Salem Chamber, and you get around other business people and you talk about what's going on in your business, and this would come up. And I started hearing from other business people like, well, tell me a little bit more about that. And so after it had been in place for my employees for a while, and it was working well, and people loved it. Yeah. Then we started doing it for some other companies, and it took on a life of its own.
Yeah. So HealthPass, you're already doing HealthPass before John came on, is that correct?
No.
Or HealthPass came about because you guys...
HealthPass is an iteration of our combined efforts, talents, and experiences, if you will. You know, for me personally, my grandfather that I mentioned earlier, he would ask questions as I was growing up, like, who's responsible for your health? And as a kid, you go, mom and dad, my doctor, and as you've illustrated, I am responsible for my health. But that is counter to our culture in a lot of ways. And I've learned the hard way that culture will trump logic every time. And so the real essence of, and the hard part of our work is helping employers change their culture to a culture of health. On the workers' comp side, we have safety culture because they're in touch with, when there is a accident or a sick employee, they want to manage that to the best possible outcome at the best possible price, because they're very aware of how their mod is going to be affected by a claim, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. On the health side, employers have mostly just kind of thrown up their hands, and they haven't had an alternative other than the 10% rate increase this year. So we're going to raise deductibles and copays to the point that employees oftentimes don't feel like they have a benefit anymore, because before they ever see anything for the amount of money that's being paid out, it's a lot of money by that point.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not in the insurance business. Explain HealthPass to me like I'm a third grader, because I really trying to, after we had our initial meeting, like, I kind of get it, but then I probably didn't fully get it. So let's walk through what HealthPass. I want to hear what you have to say, and John, we'll get to you, because I want to hear just different version. We'll understand it differently. So what exactly is HealthPass? Explain it to me like I'm in third grade.
Well, using some technical insurance terms, I like to describe HealthPass as insurance captive meets medical cost sharing. Now, a health insurance captive is, for all practical intents and purposes, a privately owned insurance company. The employers inside this health insurance captive own the captive, and there's rights and privileges thereof. Over on the other side here, the alternative of medical cost sharing has historically been faith-based in its origins, and it's evolved since then, but a lot more efficiency in terms of we're not paying big dividends to stockholders. We're not paying a lot of money out in terms of high paid staff and employees, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not to say that we don't believe in traditional insurance. I've done that for almost 5 decades. So it has its place. But a lot of people have reached that point where their employer typically pays the employees part of the premium, but they have to pay the dependent part of the premium. And the cost of that has gotten so high that they're literally having to decide mortgage and food or health insurance. So oftentimes they opt out at that point.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that is our ticket to access to medical care. And that is a dilemma that a lot of people are facing today. So the genesis of HealthPass was the core of some of the issues that we were trying to solve.
Okay.
And we met some folks that were starting a health co-op. So that's kind of the insurance captive piece. The members of the nonprofit co-op are basically the owners of the co-op. And then the benefits work a lot like the medical cost sharing piece, where you have your part that you pay first, and there's some nuances that are different in terms of that deductible portion. Mm-hmm. For example, pardon me, the deductible is an incident deductible. So God forbid you're diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. Cancer treatment can last 2 or 3 years typically. So once you've paid your deductible for that diagnosis, you're done with the deductible, even though the treatment period extends beyond. Where in the traditional insurance model, you would pay those deductibles and copays every January 1. Okay. Those start over. So there can be a substantial savings in the out-of-pocket exposure for treatment, but generally speaking, we have a significant discount on what's being paid out compared to traditional insurance premiums.
So for my employer, I'm employed. My wife doesn't work. We pay for her insurance. Is this where I would get my insurance, but then I would use you for my wife? Is that what you're saying?
That'd be one potential application for sure.
Okay. And trust me, it's expensive, so I'm all ears about how to save money.
Preferably, we'd go in and save your employer 40% first on what he's paying for you.
Okay, so maybe we have another conversation. All right, John.
So
third grade level here.
Yeah, Rob just told you how to build a watch. I'm going to tell you what time it is.
Okay, guys.
That's why we work well together.
I know. That's why I'm having you both speak, because I love it.
Amongst the many brilliant things that C.S. Lewis said, one of them is that if 2 men are on a journey together and they discover that somehow they've gotten off the right path and are on the wrong path, it's the traveler that turns around the first to go backwards that is the most progressive, to go backwards to find the correct path that is the most progressive. And you don't tend to think in terms of, going backwards is progress. But if you're on the wrong path, going backwards can be very progressive. And so in a broad sense, HealthPass is going backwards to when medicine worked well in this country, back to the 50s, 60s, even 70s. And so one aspect of HealthPass that works better than traditional health insurance is we utilize something called direct primary care. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, people had a family doctor. And for most people, the only doctor you ever saw is that family doctor, because that doctor had the time in his practice to deal with a wide range of things. And he had the ability to deal with a wide range of things. That doctor was also a small business person. He owned that practice, and he was able to make a good living in that practice as the owner. over the last 30 years, all those small practices have been bought up and are owned by big systems now. And the doctors that used to be business people are now employees in big systems. And how they practice medicine is being dictated to them. The size of their patient panel is literally in the thousands. And so those primary care docs are having to see 20 to 30 patients a day. The national average for FaceTime with a primary care doc in this country is 7 minutes. And you can't provide care in 7 minutes. So primary care docs no longer provide care. They simply refer things out to where they're traffic cops in the medical system. And a lot of them are very unhappy in that setting. Yeah. And about 20 years ago, this idea took seed that a doctor could go back into business for themselves, establish a primary care practice that does not take insurance, but instead it is a subscription model. It's the Netflix model, or even the courthouse, membership model where people pay them a monthly fee, and for that monthly fee, they have access. And in that setting, those doctors, those practices have a much smaller patient panel to where they're seeing 8 to 12 patients a day, and every appointment is 30 minutes or an hour, and you can deal with as many things as you want, and they have time again to actually deliver care. And they have control. They're dictating how they practice medicine, not their employer or the insurance company. In a really broad sense, what I tell people what HealthPass is we provide better care at a lower cost. And Rob mentioned the fact that it's not unusual when we do a comparison for an employer that has a traditional insurance for their company. The cost of HealthPass will be typically 30, 40, sometimes even 50% less than the cost of traditional insurance, and we provide better care. Direct primary care is just one aspect of it. The fact that, as Rob mentioned, the deductibles are tied to the event. And so you have certainty as to what a deductible would be is another aspect. We're up to about over 100 different organizations that we now provide we are their employer group health plan.
So cool.
We've got, we're up passing the 2,500 lives threshold, and people we take care of. Last year in the Salem area, we were part of bringing about a dozen babies into the world. 75% of the people that we serve choose the $1,000 deductible level. So for those dozen families that had new babies, the cost of that pregnancy was $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I think a great story to illustrate the beauty of direct primary care actually comes from an employee that John introduced me to. And his story was, as he got on the phone, he says, well, what most people don't know about me is I get maybe 25 to 30 minutes of sleep a night. And I've been a part, I think, of every sleep study known to man, and nothing has ever helped. He says, the first year you brought this type of plan into our company, you gave us the option to stay with the traditional insurance plan in that transitional year. But the second year when I got in and chose my direct primary care provider, I went to see her and told her about my sleep challenges. And long story short, a couple of visits later, she had formulated a medication for him. He said, I went home that night and took the medication, expecting to get my 20 to 30 minutes of sleep. Yeah. But he says, when I woke up, it was light outside and I could hear birds chirping. He goes, I looked at my watch. I'd gotten 8 hours of sleep for the first time since I can remember. And he said, I didn't know what to do, so I just bawled like a baby. And I said, I'd have bawled like a baby too. And I've stuck with him to see, is it still working? So I think that illustrates that. And the other thing he mentioned was the first appointment. She took 90 minutes to really drill down to see what she could bring to the table to help him. Right. And so I think that's a beautiful illustration of what care can be, and that's what HealthPass helps deliver.
So HealthPass is not just for me, the client. You guys also deal with the doctors directly. Is it okay we talk about one of the doctors in town?
Yeah, I don't know why not.
Yeah, so Dr. J. Campbell, he's our direct care provider, right? Is that what you say?
A direct primary care?
Yeah, exactly. Direct primary care. And so
you subscribe to him personally?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Dr. Campbell and my wife does. And so
he's fantastic.
Yeah. So he gives us the 30 minutes to an hour and a half, whatever we need, man. And it feels real. We've done the other model, and you got 7 minutes. Okay, take these drugs and get out.
But you're paying for that subscription on top of your insurance.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So what we do is we pay that subscription for the people that are part of HealthPass, and we're not, because in essence you're paying twice for primary care.
Yeah.
You're paying for it within your insurance policy, or your employer is, or your wife's employer is. But because that primary care is so frustrating and unavailable, then you pull money out of your own pocket to have this other coverage.
This is not very good, guys. I'm not enjoying this.
Yeah,
but this is real. This is what's going on.
Right.
You're wasting a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're
kind of.
The money that you're spending for Jay is money well spent.
Yes,
the money that
for insurance
is built into your insurance to pay for the primary care you should be receiving. You're not getting anything out of that.
How do you? Okay. So we need to introduce you to our corporations, that you can go speak to and really bring in your insurance to them, so we can all save more money and have better coverage.
Yeah, we have individual plans here in Salem.
Okay.
So we can provide the same set of benefits that we provide to our employer groups to individuals.
Okay.
But most of what we do is talk to companies about becoming their group health program.
That's your primary role, is to go to companies and let it filter down. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, we all want to save money because it seems like healthcare costs. Every year we get this the new proposed estimate. It goes up by 20, 30, 40% a year, something like that.
It can. The average is 10% year over year, which is a huge number. That means that the cost of healthcare doubles about every 5 years at 10%. But this past year, I talked to employers that had gotten their quote for the next year, and I saw a lot of low 20s. I talked to one employer that saw a 40% increase. I talked to another employer that had a 100% increase.
Yeah. With inflation costs, this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that's a systemic issue within the health insurance industry, where the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, capped overall the limited insurance carriers to the percentage they could raise their rates at 15%, I believe. So obviously it's straightforward math. The bigger the number is, that 15% keeps getting bigger and bigger without any retraction in terms of how do we help our customers save money. That coupled with lifestyles that are not healthy, and for example, the lifestyle medicine organization that I mentioned, their protocols for type 2 diabetes not only successfully treats it, but cures type 2 diabetes 84% of the time. So again, the perverse incentives that we have within the industry, if I make you well, then you no longer see me.
Exactly.
So
not going to make you well.
So the subscription model solves that problem in some beautiful ways.
Yeah. This is good. How do we get people involved in this? We're here to share this news. We all want to save money. We all want to be in better health. John, what do you think? What's some ways we can help people be more aware of what's going on out there? Is it a phone call to you guys? Is it a website? Is it a video?
Yeah,
how do we learn more?
People can go to joinhealthpass.com.
Okay.
Find our website, find our phone number, give us a call, send us an email. We'd be happy to talk to your HR person. And the process, kind of the first step in this, like I said, that in essence, what HealthPass does, we provide better care at a lower cost. We typically start with the cost piece because, that's easy to understand.
Yeah.
And, if we're going to save a company a dime, it's probably the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Right.
But if we're saving a company 40% of a big number, Okay, well then
I'm listening.
Yeah, now I'm listening. Okay, and the better care part is harder to understand, a little more nuanced. You know, when I've presented HealthPass in the past, I've gotten this question several times: is this sounds too good to be true? What's the catch? And I would say that if there's a catch, it's this: that people have to get a little more involved in their care, which to me, I view as another positive. But there are people, there are employees that they trust the insurance company more than they trust themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have to think about this. They don't want change.
Yeah.
And so I kind of compare it. The IT guy in our company at Courthouse, he's a big Samsung guy, Android guy.
Okay,
and most of us have Apple phones.
Come on, Apple, there we go.
And, you know, he kept pushing on me to try Android. So he finally convinced me to try Android. So I had to make this switch from Apple to Android.
Sounds painful.
It was for about a week.
Yeah.
So,
I'm out.
On off works differently. The camera works a little bit differently. Setting alarms in the morning, it all works a little bit differently, but it does the same thing, right? I would say that about HealthPass. There is some change management. You have to learn this new system, but we have a 98% renewal rate. So I can tell you that once people, the change process really isn't that hard. And B, once you're through it, people love it. Basically, the only people that have not renewed with us are frankly businesses that were struggling so much they just had to eliminate the expense or they just flat out closed.
Yeah. 98% is pretty awesome, though.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And, we've got a lot of raving fans. I can tell you those dozen families that had babies last year, they're all raving fans.
I love that. That's a great book, by the way. Is part of your model at the Courthouse or even HealthPass, the whole raving fans model? I mean, have you read that book?
Yeah. That's an old book.
It is an old book, but it still has good meaning.
Sure.
Yeah, they're our best form of advertisement. If you will.
Yeah.
And certainly another story that I think really illustrates a different aspect to HealthPass that you don't normally think about is we had a client that 8 days into the plan was subject to a carjacking and was shot in the head and survived. So from a plan sponsor perspective, you're going, oh my gosh, we're bleeding money. And how are we going to survive? Well, I won't go into a lot of detail, but there's a risk transfer capability within the plan that we exercised, and the co-op paid for all of that to put her with an individual insurance plan. So after months of intensive care, she will have a life. Obviously, her life changed dramatically.
It was a female that got shot.
Yes. But she survived and will have a life going forward.
Yeah.
But the essence of HealthPass that I think would get missed if we didn't tell you the story is most nonprofit hospitals, they at the federal level, they are obligated to write off a certain amount of their services.
Okay.
So as a part of the HealthPass plan, one of our vendors does exactly that. They go negotiate those items with the hospital. And long story short, in this case, the hospital wrote off 100% of the co-op piece of her expenses to the tune of about $1.3 million. So fighting for patients or customers at that level and protecting the pool, if you will, that money coming back in means we can keep adding additional services and keeping our costs low and serving the customer better.
Yeah. Okay, so John, your sons work for you?
No, they don't work for me. We are partners.
Sorry, you guys are. So how many partners are there?
4. You see,
two of you here, and your 2 sons. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're all 25% owners. I guess I don't know the details there. That's not that important. But what do your sons do? Are they the front of the? I mean, you've got the experience. So what's this look like?
I would say that Rob was really the germination of the idea, but you got to, put the wheels on the car, and a lot of details have to come into play, and so we've all participated in the creative process here. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember the Blazers in 1977 when they won a championship, and how. I mean, there were a lot of teams back then that had better players.
Yeah.
We had one really great player and a lot of above average, but man, they made a tremendous team. Yeah. And I would say that that's what the four of us make. I think it's God's blessing on this endeavor. Amen. He brought us together with unique perspectives and ages and talents. So we all have a different role into this, but I'm just very thankful that we make a good team and we tolerate each other really well. And we have a lot of fun working together and making this happen.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, it's like the body of Christ. We're all a part of, the body. The body doesn't exist by one finger, an eyeball. We're all a piece of the whole body. So, well, as we wrap up, what's something else that we need to know that we can move forward? Because I think this is very interesting. I mean, I think the company I work for needs to know about this. Like, I'm interested in saving more money. What would be? Is there anything else left that we need to talk about to take that next step?
I think a big part of the work that we will do in the future is helping, again, as I mentioned earlier, employers change their culture and giving them the tools and the resources to be able to do that. When I ask an employer, is it important to you to have healthy, productive employees and a good workforce? Absolutely, yes. When I ask them specifically, what are you doing to support your employees being that? They'll look at you like, I don't have an answer for that. So with the preventative aspects of the HealthPass plan, which direct primary care is a big part of that, but nutrition, the fitness club memberships, all these proactive aspects of really establishing baseline of your health allows us to, in the future, really answer that question. Yes, your employees are healthier this year than they were last year. And you should be seeing that in lower absenteeism and other aspects of measurement from an HR perspective. So it's a work in progress, but those are some things that we're looking for in the future.
I was thinking, too, as an employee, I want my employer to also allow me to go to the courthouse to go work out as part of my compensation or whatever to keep me healthy. If I go work out, I'm going to be a better employee, right? So how do you, let's talk about that just for a moment too. Can we package that in there as well?
It is packaged in there.
It is packaged in there.
Yeah. It's always been, I always wanted to be a part of the upstream healthcare plan. And this was my way of
this makes sense.
Inviting myself to the party and writing my own invitation. I would say too, that was my primary frustration because as Rob says, this developing a culture of health in a company, it's hard to do. You really have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
But I looked at my company. I had a culture of health. I had active, healthy employees, but I still did not get to benefit from that in what I paid for health insurance. I was tied to what was going on in the community overall. And I felt like I should have the opportunity to benefit from that. And this allows that to happen because employees or employers that get involved in this, to the extent that we can create a culture of health. Part of what we do is we make primary care so easy to access. Yeah. And one of the cost drivers in healthcare is the fact that primary care is so difficult to access now that people don't deal with stuff while it's small.
Yeah.
And until they're forced to deal with it when it's big and expensive. We make it easy to deal with things while they're small, and we make it easy to do the proactive things to avoid illness and injury. And all of this is a strategy to keep costs low. Yeah. Well, our group of employers and employees are benefiting from the fact that we're being successful. Yeah. We've not had a rate increase in this program in 3 years.
Okay. Haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Well, as you guys grow, how many employees do you have working for you? Or do you guys just have your group where you're not really, you don't have employers going out and getting doctors, and how do you do this?
We do it amongst the four of us, but, we'll reach a point where we'll have to start hiring our first employee and then, maybe a second. But, it's, this whole thing has been go as far as you can see. And when you get there, we'll be able to see further. We're actually starting to have that discussion about, okay, do we need to bring on our first person, and what would that look like? What responsibilities would they have, and how would that work? But this thing has taken on a life of its own. We actually have clients in 8 states now.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Are we just in Oregon, or where are we at? You know? Okay, 8 states. And give me the states.
I don't know.
Oregon, Washington, California. Are you West Coast?
No, it's, the spread into other states has largely been driven by our connection with State Farm and starting to take on some offices. And of course, they're all over the country. And word is spreading to other State Farm offices because we're really solving a problem for them, because all those agencies are small independent businesses, and they all have 3 to 13 employees, and they need to provide this benefit. And
they're like begging for this.
It's really expensive, but they're hearing from it started with the agencies here in Salem. They've done this now for a year or two, and hearing good things, and like, oh, okay, well, maybe I ought to consider this. So at this point, for a while there, everything that we did, all the contacts we were making were outgoing, were initiated by us. But now the phone's starting to ring, and we're dealing with a lot of incoming requests.
Yeah, a real life example, I think, of a 14-person group here in Salem. First year savings was $123,000.
Sign me up. Yeah.
And so
that's incredible.
I think a lot of employers go, that money was budgeted for the benefit of employees, but now we can do a retirement plan contribution or additional benefits or raise salaries or any number of things. They might want to go buy a new truck too. It's up to them what they do with that money. Yeah. But one of the reasons I like working with financial planners, for example, is that's oftentimes their biggest challenge. Where do we find the money? When we can show them that we can save their employees and the employer that amount of money, now they have something to work with.
So if I connect you with the company I work for, who does the presentation? Do you both? What's that look like?
Is it here in Salem?
Southern California. That's where our headquarters is.
Okay.
Work for a national brand.
Yeah. Having been born and raised in Southern California,
this is San Diego. So we're
that would.
Well, you have to go down and get the surfboard out or something.
Well, my aunt's 100 years. Will soon be 101 in Costa Mesa. So I try to keep tabs on her. That's
okay.
But John loves to travel, so we'll let him take it. No.
So
one of you would go present and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a process. I really, depending on the employer, sometimes they're willing to allow us to do a comparison first.
Yeah.
So, if it's somebody that I'm talking to that really doesn't understand it, I've got other companies that have given me permission to share their comparison.
That's perfect.
And so I'll show that to them, and I'd love to do one of these for you.
Yeah.
But some people are willing to skip that step and just allow allow us to do a comparison for them. Yeah. So if that's the case, we can get that done. And like I said, invariably the juice that's available is worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
And they say, okay.
20 to 40% number.
Yeah. So then, okay, tell me how this works. And
tell me really how exactly.
Yeah. What is this really?
Sounds too good to be true. We've heard this. It probably is, but doesn't have to be,
Well, Yeah, like I said, in a lot of ways, we're going backwards to when medicine worked. So it's not as though this is unproven.
Yeah.
It's just built on common sense and logic. It's not that complicated.
Common sense is not so common these days, though. That's
True.
I always ask a guy too, because you mentioned it, John. If you're going down a road and you figure out you're on the wrong road, when would you want to know? Well, right away. Okay. So yeah, sometimes going backwards, getting on the right road is the right answer. But I love that question, because if you're going down the wrong road, some people are just like, they just blindly continue down the wrong road. But when you find out, when would you want to know? Right now. Okay. I think we need to make some changes in our healthcare systems, and I think you guys are the guys.
Well, it's I really believe that small business is the the laboratory for innovation. I think it's a lot easier to innovate in a small setting than a large, and so a lot of this has just been built one block at a time.
Yeah.
And it's not as though the system we've put together hasn't been tested. Rob mentioned probably the most difficult situation we've incurred with a gal that had her car hijacked. But, at the end of the day, in that situation, there was about $1.5 million of healthcare consumed. And one of the primary vendors that we work with in delivering HealthPass is a company out of Maine called Health Access Solutions. And they administer both the primary and preventative piece of this, but they also administer the cooperative. And in that situation, they told the family, hey, don't even worry about the deductible. Just take care of your daughter. And so that situation has not cost that family any money. I mean, obviously it's cost them in other more difficult ways, but that's just the quality of the people that we work with in this. They're really down to earth, and they're passionate about what they do, and they really want this. They want this to work for people, and we want it to work for people. We get pulled into situations and we problem solve all the time. I think employers sometimes are sort of amazed, because we'll get a call like, we've got this particular employee that has got this issue with a particular diagnosis that they have, and they're concerned about this. Can you help them guide them through this? And we're able to do it. There hasn't been a situation yet that we've not been able to problem solve for, where sometimes employees get concerned, like, I'm going to be stuck with this big expense. It just has never been the case.
Well, guys, we got to wrap up here. I mean, we could probably go a longer time, and we might come back and do this again as you guys get 6 months, a year down the road, if you want to. And I'd love to have you guys on. I thought this was really good. I wanted to learn more about you, John, you Rob, and life. It's just life. We all live life, and we all have stuff, and we love Jesus, and we want to help people. And I felt like you guys did a really good job articulating something that seems complex to the average person. Like, we all want to stick our head in the sand, but you guys feel like you guys go to bat for your clients and your doctors. So Rob, any last words of wisdom you want to share before we close out?
Well, I'm thankful to know that at the end of it all, there's an accounting, and to live to hear and be able to work with people that support this every day. Well done, good and faithful servant. Amen. Is what we strive for.
John, how about you?
Amen.
Mic drop. Amen. Well, hey, we appreciate having you here this week. Hope you learned a little bit more about HealthPass, and I'll make sure the website's on there. I'll put their contact information in there, so if you want to reach out, you can. And I think we all desire to save money and be healthier. So let's do this. Rob, John, thanks for being here this week. And again, I'd like to check back in 6 months to a year. Maybe we'll do this again and see where things are going.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.